everyone, my name is Raksmey and welcome to another episode of AUPP Podcast. Our special guest today is Dr. Riccardo Corrado, who is an assistant professor here at AUPP. He is an advisor to the Cambodian Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications. He received a master's degree in telecommunications engineering from the University of Trieste, Italy, and a PhD in information engineering in the Department of Engineering and Architecture. So please welcome Dr. Riccardo joining us today. Good morning, Professor. Thank you for sparing your time and being our guest today. So how have you been?
I've been pretty good, thank you. So, good morning. I had my coffee, so I'm happy.
Okay, I had my coffee too.
So it's good. You understand me.
Okay, so to start off, may you tell our audience a little bit about your background and your story regarding information technology?
Sure. First and foremost, thank you for having me here today.
Yes.
So let me present very quickly. I'm Riccardo. I come from Italy originally, actually, as you said, from Trieste, where I completed my bachelor in electronics engineering, my master in telecom engineering, and my PhD in information engineering. It was a long travel. A long journey, I should say. After that, I worked in the corporate sector, actually in Allianz, which is an insurance company. And then from there, I felt like I wanted to come back to the academia. And I end up to work here in Cambodia. I've been already 3 years here. And I have been involved into ICT because here in Cambodia, telecom, only few universities are teaching teaching telecom as their major. So I've been kind of pulled into the world of ICT. I think as we will talk maybe today in this podcast, you will see that ICT is a very big term.
Yeah.
And even me, which my background, as I said, is electronics and telecom engineering, is very fast to be sucked into the world of ICT.
Yeah.
Now I've been teaching here actually information system, computer science, engineering courses, IT on business, IT applied to business, and now I end up here in AUPP. Teaching pretty much the same, ICT.
So you seem like you have a lot of experience and knowledge in this field.
Well, I'm very young still, so I wouldn't say that I have long experience, but yes, I have a little bit experience. I like always to say to my students, I have more experience than them, that's all.
Of course. So like when we talk about IT, it is like an umbrella term that covers any form of technology that handle information. And as we are getting more and more digitalized, there are more branches that information technology incorporates, including ICT, like you mentioned, CS, computer science, and also ITM. So to most people and students, including myself, there might be some confusions regarding the three terms. So could you differentiate and tell us the difference between those three? Like what is ICT, what is CS, and what is ITM?
Yeah, sure. I can see the reason that there may be some confusion for someone that is outside the field.
Yeah.
Actually, as everything, I would always suggest when someone doesn't understand something to look to the name. So if you look, for example, ICT. ICT means information communication technologies. So it's simply that all the technologies that are used for communicating information, for transmitting information, transmitting data. So as you can see, when we talk about technology for transmitting data, well, it's kind of a huge field of application. And also why we transmit data. We transmit data because we need to transmit something. We need to communicate one point to another one. So actually, this it's made also through ICT, through let's say technology, okay, through what we call as computer science. So let's go in a very simple way. You have information communication technologies that, as you said before, there is an umbrella term, and then you have computer science. So what is the difference between information communication technology and computer science? Computer science is, again, look the name, computer science, the science of computers. So it's more focused on understanding everything related to computers. How do they work from the hardware point of view, from the software point of view, from the interaction between the two, and it focused mainly on that. Whether it really focus a little bit less on how we communicate the data, because it's not belonging really to the science of computers, how the data go from your phone or your computer to another phone or another computer, or maybe through the satellite, or how the information pass through internet. So it's more focused on computer itself, on the theory behind, on the structure of the data, or how you program the software that will be used by the hardware of the computer. I'm trying to make things simple. Tell me if I'm going too technical, because for me it's a bit hard, sometimes to understand from the point of view. I always put myself in the shoe of students, but sometimes, I fly high. Anyway, so that's the concept. It's more focused on computer. Whether if you are more interested toward understanding how you communicate between computers, how you send your data, whatever data can be also your picture of your vacation to another part of the world or to another friend, well then maybe computer science, of course, will touch a little bit that, but will not focus on that. Whether ICT, which is the technology for communicating information, will focus more. You understand a little bit. Yeah. Then, of course, there is a confusion because these fields overlap between each other.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, if you have only a computer, usually why do you use computer? For doing something in a more efficient way, more convenient way, faster way, and then because these data are transmitted somewhere. So if you don't just keep imagine now what you do with your computer without transmitting data, without any chance to transmitting your data. Well, yes, you can create your nice document in Word, you can maybe scroll between the pictures, but then you want to send this picture, or you want to download, or you want to get in contact with your friend, or you wanted to access your Google Drive or whatever cloud you have. So that's the concept. There are two things, two words that they work together and partially overlap. Mm-hmm. When we talk about the last one, which is ITM, yes. ITM is called here in AUPP because it's a dual degree with Fort Hays State University in Kansas. They call like this, but let me rephrase this field in a way that maybe is more common for outsiders, is what sometimes is called as information system. Because ITM means simply information technology. So again, technology for managing the information, management. And that is the key term that differentiates that from computer science. What means? It means you have all these information technologies, but you need to manage them. So what means? You need to understand what kind of technology you need in your business, in your at the corporate level. What do you need for managing the data that you have regarding your customers, regarding your in general client, regarding even your human resources? So it's very complicated if you are a company, for example, you need to have to sign a contract. Okay, how do I manage this contract? It is safe to send this contract over the internet? How do I communicate sensitive data? How do I store the data? How do I manage the knowledge that we have? Okay, I hope that kind of a pass. So just in short, information technology management, yes, is true, is an umbrella term. Computer science is more focused on computer. ITM is the management of the tools, of the technology that you use at the business level.
So like ITM is like here, computer science is here, and ICT is here. Like
correct, and they all overlap. If you have a memory of your studies in high school when they taught about sets that they overlap, that's the concept. You have different sets, but then they are so close together that they overlap.
Oh, I see.
And one cannot stay without the other one. They are really, it's just a kind of more science, computer science, and then applied to business and applied to information communication, so communicating data. And they are I always like to see like these sets all overlapping together.
Yeah, and thank you so much for clearing the air.
I hope.
Yeah. So for today's topic, we are focusing and diving deeper into the ICT. So as a faculty, could you share with us some of the curriculum and courses that students will encounter when they study this major?
Yeah, sure. So let me go one step behind. First, AUPP at the beginning was offering only ITM. as you
Yeah.
may know, the one that is a dual degree with
Fort
United
Hayes.
States, correct? And as I said, is information technology management.
Yeah.
But then this is a dual degree, so it's a degree that whenever a student come here, get a degree from there and from here, but is aligned with the curriculum of United States, with the curriculum of Fort Hays State. As you know, for everyone that have a little bit of knowledge of curriculum in academia, curriculum needs to be, of course, structured in a way that you reach the learning outcome of the program. So what a student needs to know at the end. But on the other hand, you need to understand what are the demand of the specific market that you are working with. So it's understandable that when you talk about technologies, one of the biggest market you have in terms of job demand is United States. But it's not the only now, but it's one of the major, of course. So, of course, that is one of the most international approach you can have when you draft a curriculum. But then, there is also Cambodia, which is different from United States. Now, in terms of technologies, is very beautiful word, because whether you study technology in South Africa, in Italy, in Japan, or in Cambodia or United States, at the end it works the same. It doesn't change. So whatever you study, it pretty much work out all the time.
Yeah.
But the APP had this idea, okay, let's create also a program that is more tailored, is more created around the Cambodian market from now to the future. Because it's a little bit different, it's a different ecosystem than the United States. So we created this concept of information communication technologies. What is the difference between this one then and ITM? So if you are deciding which one of the two you should choose, well, they are the same word, just with a little different perspective to that concept. In ICT, you will a student that come to ICT and is wondering what to expect. Okay, first we'll have the general courses, and then they will have what they call like the specialization course. Because ICT, as we said before, is an umbrella term with many components inside of it. So you cannot really learn something about everything. It would be like if you are a doctor and wanted to be a specialist in everything. You wanted to be an expert in how brain works, how cancer works, and so on. It's not really possible. You need to focus on one. The same works in ICT. So we look around and we said, okay, what are the main component? And then we drafted the specializations that we can craft for Cambodia. And we found 4, which is software engineering, pretty much. Then software engineering, then the equivalent, I will use a short name because it's long, networking. Then is telecommunications, and information system, management information systems. Based on this, after you finish the general courses, you can approach one of the 4. Now is the point I always like to put myself in the shoe of students. What is the expectation? So how a student can decide which of the 4 majors to pick, what is more convenient, more attractive for that student. Okay, in terms of what can be, which one of the 4 major is the most powerful in terms of job, so for finding a job later, everyone, because actually in Cambodia, all of them open the doors for a lot of positions. In Cambodia, currently, there are more positions than people that can fill them up. In ICT. That is a common thing that I've seen. As you mentioned before, I work also at the ministry, and at the Ministry of Post and Telecom, we saw that one of the major vision is to increase the skills of people in Cambodia, because we need more human resources that have skills in technologies. We don't have. And we, as Cambodia, we want to grow, but we cannot always rely on outsiders. So we need to create our own human resources that are skilled in this field. And this is also why IUPP is moving forward and pushing forward to do that. So I really appreciate the work that we are doing. So how can you choose? Okay, if you go in software engineering, you will find all the courses that is more for, let's say, software developer. How to manage, how to create, for example, an application, how to create or write software in general, how to manage sometimes also database. You will, let's say that if you are more into programming, so you have this, I would like to be a developer. Well, that is the choice that you should go. Then you have what is networking. Networking is more connected to computer security, for example. So for wandering and managing all the infrastructure that allows people to communicate. Like for example, even here in AUPP, we have a local area network. So when you connect with your phone to the Wi-Fi, AUPP Wi-Fi. So who is the one managing that? Well, there will be a person behind, an expert that needed to create and manage the infrastructure. How do you know who have the rights to access? Is free? Is encrypted? Is not encrypted? Is there a firewall? What happens if someone wanted to attack the Wi-Fi or want to access the Wi-Fi? Who is responsible if someone commit a crime, a cyber crime, using your Wi-Fi? So all these concepts belongs to the networking aspect. Okay, so if you are into that aspect, if you are into cybersecurity, into computer security, into communication, that is the field for you. Then you have telecom. Telecom is my field, so it's the one that I feel the closest to me. Is the field that focus more on how to transmit the data. So you don't really focus so much on the software part, on how to develop, but you focus on, okay, you give me your data, whatever it is. We can consider them as 0 and 1s. We need to physically transmit from one point to another one. How can we do? Which frequency do we use? Which modulation do we use? Do we use Wi-Fi? What is 4G? What is the difference between 4G and 5G? What is the concept? When do you use satellite? How do you use Bluetooth? What is Zigbee? When you have Internet of Things or the concept of smart cities, how you connect the sensors so that, for example, a camera, check which car you have, who you are, how it's connected. So you understand, right?
Yeah.
And then the last one is the one that is also close to me, which is management information system. And close to me because I was teaching before in this field, and it's a very exciting field. I remember someone said this, and it stuck to my mind, and it's correct. You want to define management information system in a simple way, I would say it's the business of the future. It's nothing more. You are into business. You wanted to be a businessman or businesswoman, and you wanted to be ready for what the business is now and in the next 10 years. Study MIS, because it's not pure technology, but is technology at the services of the business.
Oh, I see. So like ICT covers that 4 points.
Yes.
So when a student choose ICT, do they get to choose between the 4 things, or they study all of them and then?
At the beginning, this is a trick. It's very hard for a student to come in and know exactly what they will do.
Yeah.
So usually they have the first year, roughly, that is what is called the foundation year, so the one that is general courses, and then they can pick one of the 4. And then, yes, they select the major or the specialization.
Yeah.
Again, you cannot study all of 4 because it's like wanting to be, let's say, more specialist in too many things. It's impossible. Like myself, I'm more a specialist in telecom. Yes, I know about any other fields, but I'm not a specialist in that. Otherwise, I would be a developer. I would be a network engineer. I would be a telecom engineer. I would, you understand.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you limit yourself to that. One thing that it must be clear. If you are a software engineer, you are not only a software engineer. You need to know a little bit of the rest because you interact with other people. You need to be a specialist in one, but you need to have a component inside of yourself that is, let's say, generalist. So you need to interact. When you are a software developer, do you think that you develop for your own pleasure? No, you develop for something for serving business purposes.
Yeah.
Whether you are on the other side, you are an information system person, you will deal more with your customers, understanding what the software needs to do, and you will interact with the software developer so that he can create or she can create whatever you need. So you work together, but as a, for example, information system expert, you will be more managing with customer and with business needs. Whether you are a software developer, you will manage more with the technicalities behind. But at the end, both of you needs to know a little bit of the other. Otherwise, there are 2 worlds that cannot interact. And nowadays, and in technology, everything interacts.
So just like you mentioned, a lot of curriculum and courses will be studied. So beside the usual assignments that are given in class, do you plan to have other exciting activities for your students to further enhance their creativity and knowledge?
Of course, ICT, this is something that I would like mostly students coming from high school, for example, to completely remove from their mind. ICT is not a major or a field of study or a job also, career opportunity that made you someone that stay isolated behind a table in front of a computer. It's not like that. If you want, you can, but you are losing the majority of the fun that is behind ICT. So the activity that we have here in AUPP are numerous, actually. So you come here, you learn a little bit, you need to start, of course, to grasp some concepts, but for example, in my classes, I always start with the big pictures. So students, I don't give them, okay, let's start. Do you know what is a CPU inside a computer? No, I don't start like that. I say, I gave them real examples. So for example, when they use their computer for doing something, if they think about how all the operation that the computer is making are managed. On when we talk about, for example, a communication of data, I always start, I show my smartphone and I say, look, this is a smartphone, right? You use it for navigating internet, for sending messages on Telegram, on WhatsApp. How do you think that your smartphone is one single device here in AUPP is sending a message to your friend that is maybe in Texas, United States, or in Kansas, maybe in Fort Hays State? How does it happen? I mean, it's not magic. And I always try to make them understand that everything behind is, you can create an analogy with what the real world is, with something visible, something that you can touch. Because computers have been created by men. So pretty much they work very similarly. In terms of activities, there will be a lot of laboratories session, and a lot also of opportunity for doing projects leveraging on what students like. I always say, you want to have fun when you learn, don't just learn something that I tell you to learn. Take something that you like, can be game, can be, okay, let's take game. The game is an example. You wanted to create games, then you need a developer. For example, I worked on a research project, and that is something that I want also to enhance as much as possible here in AUPP, the research mentality, the creativity in people, to create, to think outside the box, to create something innovative. So as I mentioned before, we created a game that we had a research project, and we wanted to create a game for assessing patients in the medical sector. There we go, another example of ICT applied to, in this case, medical field. So there are some patients, this patient needs to be medical patient, maybe they received a stroke, they suffered a stroke, sorry. They suffered a stroke, and you wanted to assess what are their abilities at the moment. So we created a digital game for tablet, so that this patient could use the game to being assessed by the therapist. Why the game? Simply because a game is fun. So game enhances the motivation of patient to work with the game. So you can assess with them, really focus the motivation on the game. If you give just a piece of paper, it will get bored, and the assessment will not be reliable. You understand?
Yeah.
So for doing that, and that's fun. For doing that, I was the project manager. I was working with a student in another university in Thailand, and she is in the therapy sector, so in medical sector, occupational therapists, and I was working with some of my students, which are computer science students, and they were developing the game. And then they had to interact with the medical expert and with the project manager, so we could come up with something interesting. Now, if you are interested in game development, you will not only do game for fun, but there are a lot of activities, what is called gamification, that apply the theory of digital games to many other fields. So what I'm saying is very exciting. It's not only that. There is the concept now, a lot of research in drones. Drones used, for example, for security reason or for agriculture reason. There is a concept now, the Ministry of Post and Telecom is working, is the digitalization process of Cambodia. So, for example, creating Phnom Penh as a smart city, everything interconnected, cameras that control thing that facilitate the process. For example, you are coming in and out of a parking spot, so I charge you. I charge you where? On your bank account, and you check automatically that your bank account has been entered for taking like $1 fee, whatever it is, from the parking lot. So it's a world where everything is interconnected. And then you say, oh, but I'm more into the law aspect. Where I've been working in the ministry also into the law aspect, because whenever you interconnect everything, the privacy came up. So you need to create policies for knowing where the data are stored, who can access to what, if the government can access for security reasons your data, which company you need to use because they are private company. You understand, it's a very exciting and very comprehensive world. I really find almost impossible nowadays to see someone that likes something that cannot be applied to technologies. Also digital art, for example. Even they create music with the computers now. So it's really a very exciting world. And this is why I'm pushing people understand that ICT stay behind everything and can enhance everything.
Yeah, it can apply to many sectors.
Yes.
So can you tell us about the career opportunity, and how do you think about women entering this field?
Okay, this is another thing. You touch me on a weak side, because I have been from when I've been here. I realized that there is this kind of mentality that women, for some reason, don't belong to this field. And, I taught many years, not many, but some years here. And I've seen also when I was studying in my country, you don't see many women. And that's a pity, because they are the same as men. We are all equal. Yeah. And there is no reason why they should not come. And I will tell you another thing, to study this field. I will tell you another thing. I've seen maybe the smartest and more prepared to approach the ICT field student that I had here in Cambodia was a female. I've seen many. I had few students in my major that they were extremely smart. I don't want to do a comparison because every person is different. You need to take their expertise and their skills. But what I'm saying here is that I didn't find male being better than female, or the way around. I see just a different way of seeing things. And, because male and females in their way are different, usually as an average, of course, they think also a little bit different. And I would like also the approach that usually female more have to things, maybe more empathetic, maybe their own way, apply to ICT, because we need them in the ICT field. And plus there is another concept. Now there is this movement in the world and also in Cambodia to empower female, to make them equal to male, not behind, because that is an absurdity that comes from the past. So, like, same level. Now, you can imagine that with the digitalization process, all the jobs and also the salary, higher salary, will go toward people that know technologies. Now, this it would just damage this process of trying to equalize, to put on the same level, to empower female, if only male will be skilled in technologies, because more jobs will be in technologies, higher salary will be in technologies, and if female don't approach technology, they will stay behind. So it's very hard, to create this equal level between male and female if they don't approach. And you cannot push a student to study something. What is my approach is we should show to everyone that ICT is a genderless is a genderless field. Is not made for female, is not made for male. Is made for anyone that is curious, that want constantly improve, and that wanted to create something that belongs to the future. Because it will be there. It will be with technologies, everything. Whatever, throw me a field and I will give you an example of how in that field technology exist, and it will be always more powerful later. Any kind of field you want to throw to me, I will find a way to connect with technologies.
Thank you, Professor. That was quite enlightening. So I don't have more questions for you, except do you have any last advice for students who want to pursue this major and be successful?
Yes. Okay. I will say things in a very straightforward way and putting myself in the shoe of students. Okay.
Yeah.
The majority of the students are that maybe are wondering if they could be good enough or if this is a good major for them. The main problem is that, or the main doubt they have is, I'm good enough for technologies because they think technology is a complicated field.
Yeah.
Actually, not at all. It's just a matter of what is your motivation behind that. I know fields that are actually more complicated. If you have the open mind to approach technologies with the right foot, it will be very fun and rewarding because it empowers you in an incredible way. From your computer, just knowing how to program a little bit, you can do amazing things that you would not think you are capable to do, but only maybe Google can do. No, that's not true. And people say, oh, I'm not a good programmer, but they don't understand that programming is just how to learn a language. When you say Python or C or C# or C++, it's just if you wanted to learn Spanish, if you want to learn Thai, if you want to learn Japanese. Because as a normal language, as a human language, even programming language follow pattern, follow structures. Of course, Japanese is not the same than Italian, the same way than Java is not the same of Python. But learning a programming language is not different than learning normal languages, like foreign languages, let's say. So I see a lot of students excited to go, for example, and study a foreign language. They do during their free time. Oh, I study Japanese and so on. But then, they are afraid about programming languages. Actually, they are even easier than other languages. I learn some programming languages, and I can tell you that it's a lot easier to study that than to study, for example, Japanese or Chinese, which to me is extremely hard. Okay, if you know English, well, pretty much the words that are used in Python follow up English. Just some concept of objects, of tools, make things easy. This is also sometimes they are scared because it's also fault of the instructors, make things complicated. I like to show that things are not complicated. You always, what is a function, for example, a program? What is a function? A box. You put something in, something come out. And that function, you design it. It's kind of a designer mind. So this is why it's very exciting. You really are, you can be an artist, okay, when you program. And then is also, if you are more like, there are many students, for example, they go to study civil engineer because it's like a job, a career that will give you a lot of opportunity because you like to build something. Well, you can do the same digitally. When you are, for example, the database engineers, the one that work with database, or the one that create a cloud, now also the ministry is working with the cloud, you needed to create an infrastructure behind for supporting the communication, even in telecom, right? Satellite and 5G, all the structure. So what I'm saying is, to not feel afraid, first advice, don't feel afraid of technologies.
Yes.
You need to approach them. It's just a mindset. People have mindset. They think that is complicated, not for me. I cannot approach. Then if you approach like that, then nothing will change. You will never go there. You will feel always not good enough. But it's just because you believe that. It's not true. It's just a mentality. Second, an advice I would give to instructor, make things simple. Things are simple. People make simple things complicated. They should make things simple, because if you go there and you make something that can be understood very easily, but then you make it look, this is very coherent, you can do these millions. No, start something simple. Explain something simple, attract the student, make them understand it's not complicated, and then let the students investigate more.
Yeah.
Let the students investigate more what can be done. Don't tell from the top, everything is complicated, So be sympathetic with the student, put yourself in their shoe.
Yeah.
And second thing is trying to not focus only, I study technology, so I program. No, you study technologies because then whatever is your interest, can be tourism, can be agriculture, can be medical sector, can be telecom, can be art, can be law, can be business, everything. Then once you know technologies, you know how you can apply technologies to your field of interest, to your passion. And you will find extremely rewarding having the power of technologies at the service of what is your passion. Can be also technology, can be, then you can keep working on technologies. But I've seen extremely successful people having a background in technology, and then they apply technologies to something outside of technologies. And that is extremely powerful. So they needed to see, I needed to prepare myself for the future. And then I apply to whatever is your love, whatever is your interest.
Yes, thank you, Professor, so much for such
My
an
pleasure.
elaborative explanation and also sharing your thoughts with us today.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah, so here at AUPP, we're also offering a single degree program in information and communication technology. So if you are interested, don't forget to check out our website and reach out to us via our social media platform, including Facebook, Instagram, and more. And for more detailed information, feel free to visit our campus, and you can also talk with our professor, Dr. Riccardo. So our show has come to an end. If you have any questions, you can surely drop it in the comment section down below. If you're on Facebook, don't forget to share this with your friends and family. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to click the notification bell and also the subscribe button for more updates from us. AUPP Podcast is also available on Google and Apple Podcasts. And thank you once again, Professor, for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for tuning in, and stay tuned for our next episode. Bye-bye.